Mr. B, XRP here, and welcome back. Got a great one for you today. I'm going to go into one of the things I want to talk about today is in conversations that I've had with people in the financial business, some of which are on Wall Street. There are three different blockchains that have come up in many conversations that that funds are going to be using to tokenize their investments. So I want to share with you the three funds that I hear them talking about the most, and I'm going to do that in just a minute. But first, let's dig in. XRP's it's down to almost 251. Bitcoin's at 108,410. Ethereum's at 3813. Tether's holding comfortably at $1, and BNB is at 1,099. And I think that the market, as most of you know, Jerome Powell announced a rate cut of 1/4 point yesterday. And I think the market's come down because I think this 1/4 point was baked in. I think people expected it, and it was already baked into the cake. And I think we would have seen, fireworks if it had been a 1/2 point. But he is just so conservative and moving so slowly. I would have loved to see a 1/2 point just to light up the financial markets. That would be really, really great. But 1/4 point's what we got. We'll probably get another 1/4 point next month. But this is something I had posted on Twitter, and I said we've come a long way. When Jerome Powell was speaking about the rate cut, I was watching Fox Business, and they had XRP up there on the screen. And it's for so many years we've been stuck, staring at Litecoin and Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they have ignored XRP. And it's just so nice to see that XRP is finally getting a little bit of its day in the spotlight. But I think the spotlight's going to get a whole lot brighter for XRP. So this was the Wolf of All Streets. He had posted this. And he said, I say this with no disrespect, looking for an actual answer. What is the current pitch for XRP? The token, not Ripple, the company. Western Union chose Solana for their stablecoin. Swift went with Linea on Ethereum, which was the selling point I heard for years. Stablecoins have clearly taken the reins for payments, so I get their stablecoin being in play, but what utility does XRP have? Again, not trolling, asking. Boy, I certainly think he's trolling, don't you? Look, let's go to, I'm going to jump to Brad Garlinghouse in just a second. Look, using XRP as a bridge currency is still in play. And even when they launched the RLUSD stablecoin, David Schwartz and Brad Garlinghouse both said publicly that financial institutions will have a choice. They can either use a stablecoin or they can use XRP. So XRP is still in play as a bridge asset. And then certainly with the use of the RLUSD stablecoin, every time it moves on the XRP ledger, you've got to use XRP to move it. So there's utility in XRP. And then the other thing is tokenization. There's a lot of tokenization happening on the XRP ledger, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Coin Bureau had posted this, and it was JP Morgan tokenizes private equity fund on bank's own blockchain. JP Morgan is gearing up to launch its fund tokenized platform, Connexus Fund Flow, next year. The whole idea of digital assets and blockchain is to make it public so that everyone can access it, and there's visibility and there's interoperability. But having your own walled garden doesn't seem to make sense. And certainly people can find ways to plug into it if they'd want to. But then JP Morgan's going to have to learn about, all the things that can go wrong with their own blockchain. Why not use a proven blockchain that's already out there? It just doesn't make sense to me. Let's listen to Brad Garlinghouse in this short clip. Let's go.
If I may, I think you're demonstrating that we don't have a global consensus about crypto. Even in this conversation, and I agree that it still is early, partly because there is not a global consensus about some of these things. Agreed. And I think some of the use cases, we're still extremely early in terms of scaled use cases. Circle is certainly one example that has started to have a scaled use case around a stable coin. But I think the crypto industry, I agree, the next 16 years, I think will be better than the last 16 years, because you'll finally see applications emerging that up until now have just been the store of value story or speculation. You'll finally see applications emerging that up until now have just been the store of value story or speculation.
So the bottom line is this, is that utility is here. Utility is absolutely here, and that is the game changer, right? It's been digital assets have been speculation up to now. Now there's the utility phase, and those that have the most utility are going to be the greatest winners. XRP. So the three. When I recently went out to the Future Proof Festival in Huntington Beach, and also prior to that, I had spent about 6 months speaking with people in the financial industry, doing some consulting work for some companies in the blockchain space. The three blockchains that kept coming up that fund companies were looking to tokenize their funds on were Ethereum, the XRP ledger, and a third one that you've probably never heard of called Canton Networks. And Canton Networks is a private blockchain. You can't go out and buy the token. You have to earn the token by being a developer on Canton Network. But keep your ears and eyes on Canton Network. They're doing a lot of stuff out there too. But Ethereum, XRPL, and Canton Network were the three that I keep hearing the most. And so utility is here, and to the wolf of all streets, he needs to wake up and pay attention. He certainly was trolling after he said he didn't want to troll. And this came out from the block. Oh, this was just another example. So Guggenheim taps Ripple's XRP ledger to offer tokenized commercial paper. This is old news. This came out back in June. But here's an example of tokenized paper that was put on the XRP ledger. It's real. Tokenization and utility on the XRP ledger are real. So this came out from Watcher Guru. It was Michael Saylor predicting Bitcoin will reach 150,000 by the end of the year, which is probably the more conservative estimate I've heard him make, but he goes on to make some pretty big ones here. So listen to this short clip.
About where you see Bitcoin hitting at the end of the year and in a year from now when we're back at this conference?
Well, I think Bitcoin's going to continue to grind up. I think the volatility is coming off of it as the industry becomes more structured with more derivatives and more ways to hedge it. Our expectation right now is end of the year, it should be about $150,000. And that's the consensus of the equity analysts that cover our company and the Bitcoin industry right now. I don't know why it won't grind up to $1 million a coin over the next 4 to 8 years. I would think not less than 4, not more than 8. And of course, my long-term forecast is it goes up about 30% a year for the next 20 years, and we're headed toward $20 million Bitcoin.
Michael, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't disagree with him on that $1 million number in 48 years. I think that's pretty conservative. I think that's going to be a no-brainer. It's certainly going to hit those types of numbers based on what we've seen it do so far. This news came out. CoinDesk had posted this. MasterCard plans to acquire crypto startup Zero Hash for nearly $2 billion per fortune. So Zero Hash, they do crypto on and off ramps. They do custody, they do APIs, and they do support of tokenization. So if MasterCard acquires Zero Hash, there's a lot of things they're going to be able to do. I mean, they're going to be able to take crypto payments. They're going to be able to be in the crypto business, right? I mean, like PayPal, you can buy crypto now. Why couldn't you do it on your MasterCard, right? So I can certainly see them getting in the crypto business. They can do crypto rewards. That's coming big time. I mean, I could totally see that, and etc. I mean, there's so much more that they can do, but MasterCard is growing their business, and I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, a lot of us have waited a long time for this rush to come in, and it's all happening at once. The last thing I want to say is, look, when you think about Michael Saylor talking about Bitcoin, being $1 million, and a lot of people believe XRP is moving toward, really, much higher numbers than we've ever seen. One of the things that I like to do is I like to have some of my digital assets in IRAs. And if you don't have an IRA, if you've been hearing these IRA commercials for years, what are you waiting for? What you should really consider having an IRA, whether it's a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. Traditional is made with pre-tax dollars, and then you pay tax on your gains. And then the Roth is paid with after-tax dollars. But the beauty of a Roth is all of the gains, by the time you're 59 and a half, you can start taking them out tax free. So you got the Roth, the only caveat is you have to have the Roth for 5 years minimum, and you can't start taking it out till you're 59 and a half, and then it's all tax free. How great does that sound? So if you've been thinking about it, stop thinking about it. If you have one, make sure you maximize it. And you know, think about an IRA, and if you've got kids, you know, talk to your kids about getting an IRA, especially if they're younger. Get them a Roth. I'm working right now to get XRP in a Roth with my kids, because when they're 59 and a half, I can't imagine where XRP is going to be. So anyway, want to share that. I have a link in the description of this video. If you'd be so kind to use it, I greatly appreciate it. And you get a $100 funding bonus if you're a new customer. Please hit like and subscribe, and also share my videos with anybody that you think might appreciate them. That's it for this one. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. Always do your own research. See you next time. Bye-bye.